What up, Rob? Welcome to another edition of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. 32 teams in 32 days. I am your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the sunny and humid confines of Elaine City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast out not only here on YouTube, but you can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Thanks. Happy to be here with you guys on this beautiful July 11th, 2025. Nice and hot and humid summer day. I hope you guys are enjoying the summer wherever you are. This episode, again, will be dedicated to 32 teams in 32 days. The segment that we've done, we did last summer. We're doing it again this summer. This episode is going to be talking about the fourth and fifth teams that were in the draft, the Browns and the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll recover their offseason outlook and things they need to do going into the 2025 season to be even better than what they were this past season. But nonetheless, I want to make sure we give a shout out to a couple friends of the show. First and foremost, if you guys are an avid gamer or if you already know that you play video games, I do. I'm still a grown-ass man with 3 kids. Yes, I play video games. But nonetheless, if you're an avid gamer like myself, I implore you to check out the link in the description box for PlayStation Direct. If you're looking for trying to pick up a new PlayStation 5, game controllers, accessories, remotes, cameras, anything that you may need, definitely check in the link in the description box of this video. Sony PlayStation, more than a game. Looking to get out this weekend, looking to take your spouse out, have a great time with some friends, then look no further than the #1 leading ticket seller and reseller in the world, StubHub. #1 seller in the world for live events, tickets, shows, and concerts, StubHub. All right, guys, so hopping into this video, like I said, 32 teams in 32 days. Loving the output and the views from the video, from this segment. I see you guys have definitely been plugging in. I definitely appreciate it. Give you something to watch throughout the summer, because as you guys know, on the 4-letter networks and the 3-letter networks on television, getting a lot of the same regurgitated shit over and over again. Definitely try to do something new and different. So I definitely appreciate the love and viewership. Getting into it, though, we're going to talk about the team that picked 4th in the NFL draft, which was the Cleveland Browns. What a fucking disaster last season was for the Browns. Needless to say, issues, Deshaun Watson, defense being stuck on the field, not playing up to par, running game due to injury and inconsistencies, not living up to the hype that it once had. The quarterback play getting better once Deshaun Watson got out. A lot of things just not really going in the Browns' favor. A lot of things that really didn't help the Browns out, pretty much in a situation where they were better off without Deshaun Watson, for lack of better words. One of the worst teams in football last year. And they got questions going into this year, which is even crazier. Like, for instance, what is the plan going forward? I mean, obviously you created a mystifyingly stupid situation by drafting, by bringing in 4 different quarterbacks when you're only going to possibly keep 3, minimum 2. Just not really a great situation there. Don't really understand what the fuck the thought process was with that. Deshaun Watson, I mean, is he in or out? It seemed like with the way Jimmy Haslam spoke this offseason about them, having a big, it's a big swing and miss and them turning a new leaf and really trying to start over. And then you're seeing the cryptic messages from Deshaun Watson on Twitter, and you're seeing the footage of him rehabbing and working out. I mean, it just seems like a very, very nutty ass situation that at some point, because of their incompetency, will play out with Deshaun Watson being healthy at some point. If they cut him, do they take all the money up? I mean, do they swallow the loss? What do they do as an organization? It's really going to be up to the Browns and Jimmy Haslam. And at this point, they've been obviously just very, very stupid and just, just asinine. I mean, the decision-making there is just deplorable. It's what dysfunctional teams do. Dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things, and this is just what it is. And then, of course, number 2, or number 3, if you're talking about questions, what is the plan with your young quarterbacks? I mean, you have Shedeur Sanders, highly touted young quarterback. Dylan Gabriel, much respect, well-respected quarterback in college football. You got these guys there, and you got Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco in front of them. Now, that being said, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco obviously former Super Bowl MVP, has a resume, played in playoffs, got this team to the playoffs 2 years ago with injury to Deshaun Watson. So you got to give, Joe Flacco the props there. Veteran, knows what he's doing, knows how to run the team, knows how to pretty much keep things afloat. However, old as hell, early 40s, not as quick as he once was. We got to see that in Indianapolis a year ago. If he doesn't have a decent offensive line, he can't really do any damage. So that's a problem. Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was a high first-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers that didn't make it throughout the life of his rookie contract. Came to Philadelphia a year ago in relief duty, and honestly, he only came to Philadelphia because Justin Fields didn't make it to Philly. It was a alternate universe where Justin Fields would have been the backup quarterback to Jalen Hurts had Justin Fields accepted that trade to Philadelphia last year. So a lot of things, played out differently. Obviously, be that as it may, but Kenny Pickett ain't nothing to write fucking home about. I mean, nobody is excited about Kenny Pickett being a quarterback for their franchise or their organization. So it just creates another, again, mystifyingly stupid situation where you have two vets, two young guys, and you're kind of deciphering through which one you keep, which one you put on the practice squad. I mean, you got two guys on rookie contracts that you got for cheap. So there's not going to be any need to get rid of anyone. But Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco, one of those guys can get cut and it not cost you anything. One of those guys can get traded. Now, I think with Kenny Pickett, the fact that Andrew Berry made the trade to give up draft capital for him kind of resonates a little bit. Maybe they want him to kind of work out and stay. I don't know. But just, again, a very, very crazy-ass situation that they've compounded and created for themselves in that dysfunctional-ass franchise known as the Cleveland Browns. That being said, Coach Kevin Stefanski and GM Andrew Berry are really the only bright spots for this organization. This team is just drowning. They really, really need playmakers and they need a culture change and to win badly. Picking fourth in the draft, they picked defensive lineman Mason Graham out of Michigan. Love Mason Graham a lot. I think he's really a good defensive player, somebody you could potentially put on the edge with Myles Garrett. As Myles Garrett's career, eventually winds down, it comes to an end, you could have that next stalwart with Mason Graham. So potentially a great move. Definitely needed to address the defense. The pass rush was not there for them last year. Outside of Myles Garrett, really wasn't any options out there in the defensive front. So, but the team needs to get better on offense, and especially at the quarterback position. I mean, without that, they cannot do anything. You had Jameis at one point, Deshaun Watson at one point, DTR, it just bad, shitty quarterback play that just compounded this team and put them in a position where they really couldn't do shit with it. I mean, they're kind of rebuilding, but possibly not even close to their expected goals. So it's a very worrisome and very confusing thing for the Browns right now. But then again, that's been the status quo for them since they've been back in Cleveland in 1999. Offensive rankings. I mean, let's just say, for lack of better words, shitty. You were 32nd in points, 28th in yards, 22nd in passing yards. So quarterback play just was, up until Jameis got in there and you got some relief duty, just really wasn't a strong suit for the Browns. Really was something that was an albatross and it was costing them throughout the season. Defensive rankings. Needless to say, not great there either. 27th in points, 19th in yards, and the only thing that you could really say for the Browns that was a lone bright spot was defensively, they were 12th in passing yards. So they were okay defending the pass. This, to me, seems like a situation where the offense is not generating enough points. The defense is out there consistently. And you have a situation where essentially the opposing team is scoring. You can't really stop them, and your offense can't score enough points to play catch-up. So, shitty situation for the Browns. They're going to have to definitely refocus and recalibrate on that running game as well. No longer have Nick Chubb there in the fold. He went to Houston, which I think was a low-key, sneaky, good pickup for the Texans, but He went to Houston. Now, they did add Quinshawn Jenkins from Ohio State, explosive young running back, a playmaker, definitely somebody I think will add a huge infusion of energy and speed into the Browns offense. And then you can't forget that you still have Jerome Ford. 104 carries, 565 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry. So again, solid running backs with Quinshawn Jenkins, with Jerome Ford. They should have a competent running game. I think that their offense should be better with better quarterback play this year. Essentially, though, the defense must be better for this team to even be able to compete in the AFC North. They're in one of the worst. They're in one of the most competitive divisions and worst conferences of football because, let's be honest, out of the two, the AFC is a gauntlet. I mean, every week you're running against a team that's potentially 7 or 11 wins. So it's going to be tough sledding for the Browns, but they do have a lot of young playmakers and do have a lot of young pieces in place that I do think can help elevate them. All of that being said, what does this lead to as far as wins or potential expected wins for this year? I got them anywhere between 5 to 8 wins. Now, I know they won 3 games last year. I know you're like, damn, 5 wins. But they have a lot of youth. And when you have a lot of youth on offense and defense, and you got to kind of get guys acclimated and, to the game, that takes a lot of adjustment. This team is in no way, shape, or form playoff ready. And in that division where you're playing Lamar, Burrow, now you got Aaron Rodgers there. They're clearly the 4th best team in this division. So 5 to 8 wins. 8 wins is a great season for the Browns this year. If they get anywhere between 5 to 7 wins, I'm pretty sure someone in their front office would be happy. I don't think Jimmy Haslam has any right or does have any credibility to fire anyone after the season. I mean, they have to go 3-14 or worse than what they did a year ago for someone to possibly get fired. But I think the coach has gotten as much as he can out of this organization. I think Andrew Berry, has definitely done as much as he can to try to make this organization viable, and competent. They just got to get their young playmakers to hit. If their young playmakers hit and connect, I definitely feel like the Browns could definitely have a decent season, especially to their standards, compared to what, has been the norm, at least a year ago. Because it's so remarkable to think 2 years ago they were in the fucking playoffs. And, I mean, oh my, what a difference a year makes, but we shall see. Going to the 5th team that picked in the draft, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders. Oh, the Raiders. The Raiders. What a fucking terrible year for them last year. It's kind of remarkable when you think about it because the Raiders have been one of those teams where you kind of feel like if they can just get the right playmakers, just get the right offensive weaponry, maybe, just maybe, they can elevate and be in a position to where they're contending, winning, viable, football team again. But that's just has not been the case. Whether it's the incompetent hiring of Josh McDaniels, which I will tell anyone with a brain that definitely should have never been the move after John Gruden. But, then, bringing in interim coach Antonio Pierce, who, in all fairness, Antonio Pierce did try to get as much as he could out of that roster, but you got an older wide receiver who's not really happy with the way things are going. You got a team that just didn't really do much defensively to get better. Offensively, quarterback-wise, the moment he couldn't make a move to get Jayden Daniels, it seemed like they were fucked. And that just ultimately wrote off the season for the Raiders last year, and it led them down the spiral that they went. And just, very disappointing season because this team definitely had expectations, especially after the way 2023 ended and the way Pierce coached this team up. They really thought that there was a chance this team could possibly make the playoffs and be viable, but that just was not the case. They have a situation where it's old face, new place. Antonio Pierce is fired. Pete Carroll was brought in. Old face, new place. But there's also a new front office and a new vision with the Raiders this year. You can definitely see that with the way they spent money in free agency, with the way Pete Carroll talked, with Pete Carroll and John Spytek, GM John Spytek. You can clearly tell that the Raiders have a new vision, a new philosophy. You have Tom Brady as a minority owner, definitely putting in his mark and putting his mark down on the team. You just see it. You just see that this team is definitely trying to turn the corner. It's hard turning an oil tanker around, in the ocean, but you got to do this because going 4-13 is not anywhere what the Raider Nation or the Black Hole expects from this team. They expect excellence, and it's just they've been far from that, the past few years. Nonetheless, Pete Carroll and John Spytek, and they spend money in free agency. You get Geno Smith, which I think was probably one of the most solid signings of the offseason because let's be honest, if you're the Raiders, you're not getting Aaron Rodgers, you're not getting Matt Stafford. Geno Smith is comparable. He can get you to the playoffs. Maybe you don't win a bunch of games in the playoffs, but you know damn well you can win 9 or 10 games with Geno Smith and be competent enough to win. So I agree with the move, and obviously the relationship between Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, that made the most sense. Getting Raheem Mostert from a running back from the 49ers and Dolphins, obviously, his career just ended with the Dolphins, so made the most sense to me why he was there. Also, you get Eric Stokes, retread cornerback from the Green Bay Packers. It's kind of weird how things played out. It didn't work out with Eric Stokes where he was going to develop and be the elite corner that we once thought he was going to be, but I do think with Las Vegas, with the place where he's at, them needing cornerback play so bad, if he just comes in and plays competently, they'll definitely be better. Also, safety Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin has been a guy whose name's been floated out in the market now for a couple years. Jeremy Chin just got done playing in Washington with the Commanders a year ago, had a decent season, played, got into free agency, wasn't one of those guys that Washington was going to be able to keep. I definitely like the signing there, but the most underrated signing out of all the ones that they made would definitely be Alex Kappa, formerly from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if I'm correct, there's somebody who played with Tom Brady as well. Alex Kappa, guard, going to the Raiders, is definitely a guy that can help this offensive line. Their offensive line has been something that has been one of the worst in football for a while. You'll see here on the screen their grade from this past season. Not good at all. I mean, just fucking morbid at best. Makeshift offensive line, shuffling guys out, shuffling them in, not really having any cohesion or plan of attack. As offensive line, you need camaraderie. You need to be able to gel. And without that, you're not able to gel. It just puts you in a precarious situation. Your quarterback's getting fucked up throughout the season. So that didn't help. And then, you look further in the draft, they pick fifth. They grab Ashton Genty, playmaker at the running back position. Love Ashton Genty a lot. A little bit on the smaller side. I know Chris Sims has touched on the fact that he struggled in the Penn State game to have the elite plays that he was used to making throughout the season. Could have been just a bad game. Could have been more of a sign of things to come. We don't know. We shall see. But I do think Ashton Genty is somebody that was needed in this offense, something to help spark this offense and generate some type of excitement because it just hasn't been there. They grabbed Devontae Adams. We all thought that maybe that was going to be the missing piece, but getting rid of Josh Jacobs didn't really help getting Devontae Adams. So just, Josh McDaniels, guys, just go look back at those free agency decisions and the guys he let go and think about how that played out. And we see if Josh McDaniels ever in hell, in a snowflake's chance in hell, deserves to be a head coach ever again in the NFL. I would be one to say no, but, But they got to give this defense a chance to breathe too, because I think this defense was on the field a lot. You look at just looking at the rankings. The offensive rankings, 29th in points, garbage. You're 27th in yards, which again was trash, just not good, competent at all. However, you were 13th in yards. So that shows me what? They were moving the ball up and down the field, couldn't punch it in to score points. That's essentially what held them back. If you look at their passing stats too, 13th in yards, 28 passing touchdowns. They needed more matriculation and more creativity down the field to help them get into the end zone, to create splash plays, because that's essentially what was missing from this offense. Defensively, again, this was really the problem. Offense not executing the way they needed to, leaving the defense out there to handle the brunt of the load. 25th in points, excuse me. The Raiders defense was 15th in yards. Again, you need them to be better. They can't be middle of the pack. Cornerback play must be better. Linebacker play must be better. It can't just be all on Max Crosby to create a pass rush. These guys must play at a high rate for this team to even be competent. Now, I will say this, though. If the Raiders offense can sustain drives and give the Raiders defense some breathers, this team might potentially be a playoff team because, in all honesty, they got the coaching, they got decent quarterback play, I think enough to win. In this division, you got Sean Payton in the Broncos, you got Andy Reid in the Chiefs, obviously who's been dominating the division. You got the Chargers, with Jim Harbaugh. You might have to look at a situation where maybe you're the worst team in the division, but maybe, you get hot, pull off some wins in the middle of the season, generate enough down the stretch where you can get a wild card spot. Who knows? But best case scenario for the Raiders, I have them as anywhere between 7 and 9 wins. I think that's got to be the goal. With Pete Carroll, with the new life breathing to this offense, this team, period, they have to be competitive. I think 7 and 9 wins is definitely obtainable for them. Like I said, possible fringe wildcard team. I definitely think they could definitely make it in the AFC. There's going to be some teams that fell off from a year ago that aren't going to make it. And just the invigoration and injection of energy that Pete Carroll is himself, the walking embodiment of it. I just think that's kind of what this team's needed. They needed to be coached up. They needed to be coached right. But most importantly, they needed someone to believe that they can do it. And I do believe that the Raiders have a chance to possibly be a fringe playoff team this year. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care. Be safe out there. Stay cool and hydrated, and enjoy the rest of your day. Hey to all my fans and subscribers out in the UK. Looking to get out this weekend, looking to make something of your week, then look no further than the Viagogo, the #2 leading ticket seller in the world for live events, shows, and concerts. Definitely check it out. If you're looking for exclusive tickets, look in the description of my videos on the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. Take care and enjoy your day.